be doing a book unhaul, and I'm realizing now that because my last video was my 5 books I couldn't finish video. This has been kind of a negative week for books on my channel. That wasn't intentional, but my June wrap-up coming up, I've read a lot of wonderful books this month, or I should say I'm reading currently a lot of great books, so that will be very positive. But actually a lot of these books, I've read all the ones I'm going to be donating today. I should say I would love, because I always see this get asked in book unhaul videos, I would love to give them to you guys, those of you who are interested in them, but unfortunately shipping is not free, so I just can't really afford to do that. A lot of these, if they look pretty beat up, are from my high school days. I've read all of them and liked most of them for the most part, but I wouldn't really say I'm honestly a book collector. On my bookshelf, I really just want to see books that I've really enjoyed, have affected me in a positive way. They don't have to be my favorite books of all time. I'm not that strict about it, but I don't want to look at a bookshelf and have half of them be books I was like, oh, that was good for the most part. So I'll be donating all of these probably to Goodwill or something like that. But for those of you who have been following me on Twitter and Instagram, you will know that I am moving coming up in August. Thank you to all of you who have been helping me with decorating advice when I've been posting updates and things like that. You won't see any more of that until August when I officially move down there, because it's quite a ways away. Let me know if you guys are like this, but when you're moving, it just feels so good to purge and get rid of a lot of things that you just don't absolutely love. So let's go ahead and get into the books. So the first book is The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon by Stephen King. I'm a big Stephen King fan, more so with his earlier works, honestly. This is about a little girl who gets lost in the woods, and it was good, but nothing special for me. Too many baseball references, honestly, which I cared nothing about. Next is the Decameron. This is a classic from the 14th century, I want to say. This I remember I read in junior year for my lit class. My high school was interesting and we had separate composition and literature classes, which I loved. It has a bunch of short stories in it about people competing to sort of have the best story, and a lot of them are very sexual. So when you're in high school you find that very amusing, but I remember having fun with this, but there's no way I'd go back and reread it. This might be a bit of a surprise, but that is Silence of the Lambs by Stephen King. Although I did really like this, I have to say honestly, I like the movie so much more. You just can't beat Anthony Hopkins, and it was a fun read, but it doesn't really stick out in my mind. Next is Eclipsed by Stephenie Meyer. They're scattered about in the pile, but you guys will see I'm giving away Breaking Dawn, New Moon, and Eclipse. I'm keeping Twilight for sentimental reasons, but I can't really foresee myself going back and rereading the series. But yeah, I'm gonna keep Twilight for sentimental reasons, but these are just so massive. I don't need them taking up so much space. I took an American Lit course my sophomore year at college, and this is the Norton Anthology on American Literature. This has a bunch of segments of books, such as Huckleberry Finn. If this had discussion sections, I think I would be much more likely to keep it, but it really is just sections of books. And if I'm gonna read, say for instance, The Figure in the Carpet or The Revolt of Mother, I'm just going to read the book. I'm not gonna wanna just read a section of it, so I don't really see a need to keep this. Then is Looking for Alaska by John Green. I think I've only read 2 John Green books, this and The Fault in Our Stars. I enjoy The Fault in Our Stars much more. Like a lot of other people, Alaska just kind of ruined the book for me, honestly. It wasn't even that I disliked her, because I love a lot of books where I dislike the main character, the voice of the book, but she was just such a stereotypical manic pixie dream girl, and I've heard that that's in a lot of John Green's books, unfortunately, so it just was not really for me. Then we have another Stephen King book, and that is, I'm not sure if this is Lacey's or Lacey's story. This is about a woman whose husband, who is a famous author, much like Stephen King himself, is killed, and then one of his biggest fans starts to stalk her. Definitely not one of my favorite Stephen Kings. I read this, I want to say a couple years back, and I can't remember most of what happened except a couple scenes, so that kind of goes to show it did not have a very big effect on me. This kind of brings back memories, and this is 100. You can see I've loved creepy books for a very long time. This is 100 Wicked Little Witch Stories. I want to say it's maybe 11 or 12 when I bought this. And it was a really odd read. Actually, this one I might keep, because I remember reading it and thinking the story seemed very adult and as if they shouldn't have been for someone my age, so I'm curious almost to go back and reread this, because I remember a lot of the stories and I'm curious to reread them and see if I still find them as shocking, but probably won't, but that would be fun. So actually I think I might keep this one. New Moon, which I said I'll be giving away. Then Sliver by Ira Levin. This is a very old movie cover edition. And if that name doesn't sound familiar, he's written some very popular books such as Rosemary's Baby and The Stepford Wives. Loved both of those books. This is about a very classy woman who moves into a very beautiful apartment building, and then she realizes she and a lot of the other people in the apartment building are being stalked by someone who's put cameras in all of the rooms. It's fun, but I thought it was also quite campy and cheesy. Next is Anna and the French Kiss by Stephenie Perkins. I know for a lot of people this is one of their favorite books of all time, and I did enjoy it. I thought it was very cute, but I didn't like it enough where I can foresee myself being interested in reading the other two books. It's not really a trilogy, I'm not sure what you'd call it, because I know they're only slightly related, but she's written two other books of this nature, and I didn't like it enough where I'm even interested in reading the others. I thought it was a cute romance, but honestly just not anything really special. Then we have Harvesting the Heart by Jodi. I've read maybe 3 books by her, and this is one of the few that did not have a hideously annoying twist ending that didn't make any sense. This book I actually did enjoy quite a bit, but I always find myself with Jodi books, I find them, for me, they're quite good beach reads. I think they're fun, but they don't really ever have a lasting effect on me, and I can't really see myself reading a ton of Jodi books in the future. I read her a lot more so in high school, and it's just not really my cup of tea anymore. Then is The Memory Keeper's Daughter by Kim Edwards. This is about a husband and wife, and I think it was the 1950s, is that when it took place, who have a daughter, but they realize she's mentally disabled. So they make the decision to give her away, which I think it's the husband who really regrets later in life, so he goes back and attempts to find her. Good book, I would actually quite recommend this one, but it's just not really a favorite or anything like that. Then we have a newer one, and that is Rebel Belle by Rachel Hawkins. For a lot of people, they were saying how hilarious this was. It was one of their favorite books. I thought it was fun and engaging and addictive, but I think I probably would have enjoyed this much more as a standalone. When I reached the end and realized this was going to be part of a probably trilogy, I kind of lost interest. But then we have, like a lot of other people, my least favorite book in the Twilight series, and that is Breaking Dawn, just one of the worst books I've ever read. I always say this whenever, for whatever reason, I'm bringing up this book, but this book has, what, 250 pages at least of just build up for battle that never fucking happens, so irritating. I guess fast forward here if for some reason you don't want to be spoiled about the Breaking Dawn movie, but you can tell that they threw in that battle fight scene that ended up just being in her head, because you can tell the director probably when he's reading this book, or the screenwriter, was just thinking, fuck, there's no way cinematically this is going to be interesting whatsoever if it's done how it was in the book, which wasn't interesting. So I actually prefer definitely what they did in the movie. Then is Choker by Elizabeth Woods. I adored the cover a lot more than I did the book. These two, I know I was saying most of these books I liked but just didn't love. Breaking Dawn and this book are probably the only two out of this whole bunch that I just really did not like. This is a psychological thriller that's young adult, which you don't see very often, which is very nice. For me though, if you've read a lot of psychological thrillers, the twist, I mean, I'm not going to say what the twist is, and it's not a spoiler to say that there is a twist. You know this is a psychological thriller, there's always twists in those, but you see this twist so much in books and movies, so when you see it in the book and there's nothing going on really besides what's related to that, it's just a big letdown. And I thought the hints she dropped were just way too obvious, so big no for me. Then is Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. I read this senior year of high school because I wrote a paper on it. So actually, I think I might keep this one, because the more I'm thinking about it, I think I enjoyed it more than I thought I did, and I think there is a chance of me going, oh, it's one of my little note cards from high school. I have no idea what this means. There's a top section, a line, and then a bottom sections, and the top says love, social class, outsider, bottom, religion, elements, outsider, SC, trapped. So whatever that means, maybe that was me writing down themes about the book. So actually I think I will go ahead and keep this one. It was very gothic, and I remember hating the characters but still loving the book. And finally, this is probably no surprise, and that is Tender Morsels by Margot. I realized when I did my last video when I mentioned this, I said her name wrong. It is Margot Lanahan. I won't talk too much about this one because I talked about it in my last video, but this is a retelling of fairy tales with a darker twist, and just really never was engaged with this book. Found it quite dull, which was upsetting because I had been looking for this for so long, and then I found it for just $7.50 brand new at 2nd and Charles. So that is my book unhaul. Let me know if you've read any of these books as well, and if you also maybe were not the biggest fan of them, or if you loved them, I'd be interested to hear why. And also, out of the books I was reading in June, I'm about to finish Redeployment, You, and Daughter of Smoke and Bone. So if there's one of those you would like to see a full video review on, please let me know, and I will see you guys soon.